everyone. I am Cassie Chambers Armstrong. I am the Metro Council representative for the 8th District, which is the Highlands area. Approximately 2 weeks ago, I filed an ordinance that proposed a temporary change to the liquor license hours in Louisville that would have required bars to stop serving alcohol at 2 a.m. instead of 4 a.m. In the days after I filed the ordinance, I had conversations with dozens of late-night bar and business owners. I believe that good policy comes from collaborative conversations with all stakeholders at the table, and that good elective representation means listening to the groups that are most impacted by proposed policy changes. Policy is at its best when elected officials and impacted groups work together to find solutions. And I think that's what happened here. We all share the same goal: ensuring a vibrant, thriving nightlife, while also making sure that people can enjoy that nightlife safely. Out of these conversations, many of which were with the people you see standing here behind me, we developed a comprehensive plan to improve late night safety. This plan has many parts, and it will require many stakeholders working together. The first piece of this plan is increased funding for alcoholic beverage control, a department under codes and regulations in the city. This additional funding, to the tune of $400,000, will allow ABC to hire 3 additional staff, a 40% increase from where they are now. The goal of these additional officers will be to have a consistent late-night presence in areas with a high volume of nightlife and a high volume of gun violence issues. These additional resources will go toward targeting late-night establishments that are violating local and state law and ensuring that bad actors are held to account. If you are a bar or nightclub owner that is profiting from creating public safety risks, today is your notice to get your house in order. Those who continue to create public safety risks through things like allowing individuals to carry guns into their establishments, knowingly serving underage patrons, and willfully creating unsafe environments will face losing their liquor licenses entirely. I am thankful to have bipartisan support from leadership of both political parties to fully fund and implement this plan. The other piece of this plan, and the one that I'm most excited about, is to work hand in hand with our late night business community to elevate the industry as a whole. I'm going to form a work group with several bar owners to develop supportive resources for those working in our late night entertainment industry. This work group will form a best practices guidelines book that will address issues such as: when should I have security at my establishment? What should I train my security on? What options are available to check IDs and flag people who have been known to create safety risks in the past? What are the best practices for lighting and for security cameras? This guidance is meant to provide information and resources to our bar owners from our bar owners. Additionally, this work group will work with my office to develop trainings on particular topics that bar owners identify as being helpful. For example, in my many conversations, I've learned that very few bars train their staff or security personnel on the state law regarding firearms in bars, or issues that might arise around firearms. One proposed training that I'm hoping to implement would focus on firearm-related issues in bars. Other topics brought forward by members of the bar community include things like training on recognizing overdoses, administering Narcan, and resources available to help our houseless community. This work group will be in communication regularly about late night safety issues and how we can continuously work to improve public safety. A third piece of this puzzle will be experimenting with built environment changes to lead to safer outcomes. For example, I am working with LMPD on a pilot program to make security cameras more visible and getting more security cameras in high visibility areas. These pilot projects will provide us with information about what strategies might be effective at a citywide level. Finally, this work group and my office will continue conversations about policy changes that might address some of the issues that communities have expressed regarding late night concerns. There has been a proliferation of 4 a.m. bars along Bardstown Road in recent years, and state law makes it difficult, if not impossible, for the community to have any control over the density of these very late night establishments. To that end, this work group and I will look at things like zoning or changes to state law that might give communities more of a voice in controlling where very late night bars can be located and the density around these establishments. What is not a part of the plan at this moment is any change, even a temporary one, to the current liquor license hours. And I want to be clear that this plan will not solve all of our public safety issues. Gun violence is at a record high in our city, and these changes will not stop all acts of violence. But what I hope these changes will do is bring stakeholders to the table to ensure that our city is a leader in having a vibrant, thriving, safe nightlife community. I hope it creates channels of communication and builds bridges between government and the bar industry. In close, there are a lot of people I have to thank, mostly the people standing behind me and the many bar owners who gave of their time to develop this collaborative solution and came to the table in a true sense of partnership. I also want to thank Metro Council President David James, Majority Caucus Chair Marcus Winkler, and Minority Caucus Chair Anthony Piagentini for their willingness to support funding of this plan. I especially want to thank Kelsey Westbrook, that you're going to hear from next, for her very thoughtful ideas and participation in this process. You'll hear from her right after me. Also, the Highland Commerce Guild and the Kentucky Restaurant Association that you will also hear from in a few minutes. I'm truly excited about the partnerships that we've formed, and I'm looking forward to working with everyone moving forward. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Kelsey Westbrook for some remarks.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here, and welcome to Norrie Bar. The new language in this ordinance, including the removal of the 2 a.m. bar closure requirement and the addition of these new safety protocols and trainings for our industry, show our civic action at work. I'm a firm believer in democracy and that we should all advocate for making our voices heard, even when we feel like the little guy in the scenario. We are grateful to the Councilwoman for hearing our concerns and being willing to come to a solution that would provide more resources to bar owners and workers to allow us to continue to operate during our high traffic hours and implement safety protocols that benefit all of us. I believe this will in turn create safer spaces for all community members. I'm confident that Louisville's bar and nightlife community can work together with local government to continue to showcase the creative and unique spaces our hospitality and tourism community has to offer. And now we can not only do just that, but we can do it with a commitment to safety at the forefront. We all succeed when we have access to more resources and are provided with the support we need, not only to survive, but to thrive. And I believe this does just that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. And next we'll have Stacey Roof, who's the president and CEO of the Kentucky Restaurant Association.
Thank you all, and thank you to Councilwoman for bringing us here together, and to these folks who you see. Over the last couple of weeks, I think we've seen the perfect reaction of business owners collaborating with our metro government on coming up with great solutions to an issue without having to do something so as extreme as to change their hours of business, right? But to work within the parameters and the resources and create solutions like you heard about training and just more awareness, I guess, on our hospitality staffs and availability of things that maybe we can all do to make our community safer. I think that's everybody's goal, and I know our hospitality leaders really want to show their commitment to that. So appreciate everyone's willingness to work together for that.
Next we have Jamie Spalding, who is an owner of multiple bars, and I'll let her give you the names because I always forget one of them.
Hi there, I'm Jamie Spalding, the owner of New View Bar and Grill and Smyrna Inn, which are both in the Highview area. Just want to say thank you to everybody who supported us, and for everybody listening to all sides to come up with a good solution that I think will work for everyone. The city's problems are all of our problems, and most of us are good actors, and we're ready to be on board to help with a good long-standing solution. So again, thank you to everybody, and we look forward to working with Miss Armstrong in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Now we have Erin Gavin, the president of the Highlands Commerce Guild.
Thank you, Cassie. The saying of time, treasure, and talent has been put to a very high standard, and I have to give Cassie a triple A. She has been involved with time, treasure, and her talent. It was a community effort, being aware of the third shift, of the impact it has on a group of businesses that most of us don't go and see on a very often basis. We have shown inclusion, showed productivity, and a solution. Whether you like it or not, give her a chance. Thank you very much.
All right, last, and then I think all of us would be happy to take any questions. Megan's going to read a statement that Council President David James had sent over.
President James wished that he could be here, so he sent this statement along. I just want to thank Councilwoman Chambers Armstrong for her strong leadership on this very important public safety issue for our city. Her ability to work with our bar owners and citizens to find solutions to these issues is very much appreciated. Thank you to our citizens and businesses for speaking up and letting your voices be heard. This is how good public policy is created.
All right, we have a couple of minutes for questions. If you have questions for me or for anyone from our business community or any of our bar owners.
Councilwoman Armstrong, for the rest of, so obviously this was a push that you were working on, but if any other council members were to bring back this subject, bring it back up again, would it be something that you would oppose as far as 2 a.m. and 4 a.m.?
Yes, I think right now we have a great plan to move forward and really get buy-in from the community that was going to be most impacted, and I think that is where the best policy solutions always lie. I am excited about this plan. I am more excited about this plan than I was about the initial ordinance. I think that's a sign of the process working, and I really do have to thank these folks for being willing to sit down and talk about how we could all come together around a solution that I really do think is going to be supportive of our bar and our late night industry, and make sure that they have resources and tools they need, and really elevate our city as a whole to make sure that we are really leading the nation in terms of having a vibrant, thriving nightlife that is also really thinking in new and innovative ways about public safety issues. I think some of the things that Kelsey and I have had conversations around about, how could we train on administering Narcan and recognizing the signs of overdose. Those things were not part of our initial conversation when this ordinance was first filed. But I think it's recognizing some of the other issues in our community right now and finding ways that the bar industry can be responsive to that. And my kudos to them for wanting to take that on and wanting to expand outside of sort of just their immediate business concerns, but also really have care for our entire community. Sure. So the plan, one of our priorities that we funded with, we set our priorities under the American Rescue Plan. One of those was public safety. This is sort of a non-police way to engage in public safety by hiring more ABC officers. ABC officers have the ability to go out and to cite bars that are violating state and local law and to shut them down entirely if they are creating public safety risks. As it stands right now, ABC only has 7 officers. They're supposed to cover sort of the daytime hours, weekends, weekdays. And so this is a significant investment in our ABC office to allow for increased targeted enforcement of those bad actors that are causing some public safety risks, while making sure that the people who are following the rules, like the folks you see behind me, aren't suffering any consequences.
Do you all have an early idea of who some of those bad actors are? Those people that these ABC guys day one are going to be talking to?
I don't want to name any names, but I think there is, when you're a bad actor in the community recognizes it. And so, I think that we will see those bad actors increasingly being held to account. I also, some of the money is also set up to support some of these trainings and these guideline developments so that we can make sure we're developing the resources and funding the training so that this plan can succeed.
Councilwoman, can you expound a little bit on what these guidelines are? How are they going to be used, I guess, and what if there are folks who, even after these guidelines are
those folks might be getting a visit from ABC. So the goal of these, some other cities have done projects like this where you really have to talk to the people doing the work to understand what the best practices are. And a lot of times it's just a way to facilitate communication and the exchange of information in terms of, what are other people doing that's working well? What are the technologies that are available around checking IDs and flagging people who have been issues in the system? What are some creative things you can do around lighting and security cameras? And I've learned a lot talking to the people behind me about some of the options available. I imagine that as we develop these guidelines and these resources, other bar owners or people who operate late night businesses will also learn a lot from looking at these resources. Also, my hope is that these resources will help ABC sort of determine what a bad actor looks like. People who are clearly not following any of the best practices, who are creating disorderly premises, who are creating public safety risks. The goal is then that those folks will receive visits from our new ABC officers.
Describe the timeline. So after today, what can we expect as far as this plan is concerned? When will they get as far as action?
Yeah, so my hope is that we'll be able to move quickly towards funding this. I would hope that certainly in the next 6 weeks we could have at least begin the funding process. It takes a while, of course, to hire new people and get them onboarded. And my hope is, and I have commitments from a lot of the bar owners that I've talked to, that we're going to continue these conversations and continue them soon. And so I would hope that within the next month we would be able to sort of sit down a timeline for figuring out what developing these guidelines, sort of what the actual timeline for that is, and also have our first training on the books. I was talking to some nonprofits today around what it would take to get a firearms training up and on the books and have that be offered for free to bar owners, to bar staff, to security personnel, to other late night establishments, to really any business owner that thinks their staff could benefit from learning more about some of these issues, ranging from de-escalation to what the law is on carrying firearms into bars, to how do you apply a tourniquet if nobody wants a shooting to happen in close proximity to their business, but if that happens, what are some steps you can take to help in that situation?
Seems like a very good plan. Can you describe why this wasn't brought up years prior?
I honestly think that we arrived at this place because the bar community reached out enthusiastically and said, we want to be a part of the solution, how can we all work together? And I truly believe that it is them bringing that spirit of partnership and collaboration to the table that got us to where we are today, and really help create a vision that I think people believe in. People really believe that this partnership is going to, instead of a temporary change as was originally proposed, that this could be a really exciting sort of permanent infrastructure where we're all working together hand in hand. All right, maybe one more question. No more
I
questions?
was hoping for a question with Cassie with Nori Bar, if you don't mind.
Kelsey, yeah.
Kelsey, sorry, my bad.
That's okay.
In my defense, I'm new here.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind, could you tell us a little bit what it was like working with the city and working together in this effort? Obviously, this was something that had local bar owners nervous about this change, and now here we are 2 weeks later with a completely different viewpoint.
Yeah, I think it began with, myself and some other bar community folks attended the Highlands community meeting last week, and I ended up speaking there. And beyond that, we created an email initiative that made it really easy for our community to reach out to all of their council members and be able to just immediately say, please don't do this, oppose this ordinance, let's talk about doing something else. And then beyond that, Cassie reached out to me and we were able to have a meeting going into this week to talk about the current issues and how we can kind of work together to navigate that and still be open to staying late. And as Cassie mentioned, I was kind of able to bring some ideas that, hadn't been broached before, like helping our houseless community that are, we have a big houseless community really close to Nulu here. So how can we have resources that we're able to offer them and get our folks trained on Narcan administering and things like that are, big issues in our community right now, and being able to do that in a compassionate way that doesn't harm people. So I think for me, it's all about harm reduction and how can we continue to work in this industry, thrive, stay open late, and also make a positive impact as well. So we were able to have those discussions, and Cassie was really open to hearing from us and, was able to talk to her colleagues about that as well.
And how are you feeling?
I feel great. I think this was a great compromise, and I also think that, we're coming out with additional resources to protect ourselves and to protect each other. So I think this is best possible scenario.
I just have one question for you.
Yeah.
Sorry. When you look at the shootings, most of them didn't occur on the street.
Yeah.
Or over on the back street over there. Why is it so important for you to really be involved in this? Why did you feel the need to kind of join in and play a part in this solution?
Well, I think the ordinance was initially proposed only for the Highlands neighborhood, and then it was backed by Mayor Fisher and Chief Shields for all 170-something bars that have 4 a.m. licenses. So it ended up affecting all of us, and honestly, we should all be civically involved in issues that don't affect us because they will eventually affect you in some way. So that's kind of my motto. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.